Welcome to the Weaving the Lightnet TLDR, where we synthesize the week's news and wisdom from the web of planetary consciousness. You'll find threads of awakening, insight, and transformation woven into the tapestry of our shared journey through the cosmos. If you want to do deeper, check out the full-length episodes linked below.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be unpacking a really fascinating and, pretty provocative worldview from the online publication Lightnet. It presents two very different possible futures for all of us. So, the whole idea here from Lightnet is that humanity is basically standing at a fork in the road, right? We're facing a choice between two totally different futures. And look, this isn't just about, politics or who's in charge of the economy. The source material really frames this as something bigger, like a fundamental, almost spiritual decision that's going to shape where we go next as a species. So what are these two paths? Well, on one side, you've got what Lightnet is calling the Great Digital Reset. Think of this as the future of more centralization, more convenience, and more compliance. But then on the other side, there's the Great Awakening, which is all about individual sovereignty, a higher consciousness, and real connection. Okay, so let's dig into that first path, what they're calling the architecture of control. Let's see what that's all about. So the idea here is that all our modern, super-connected systems, I'm talking about everything from the cloud to the financial markets, they look strong, but they're actually built on this hidden weakness. This constant push for efficiency has put all our eggs in just a few baskets, creating these single points of failure that could, honestly, be catastrophic on a massive scale. And the way these articles see it, the system of control isn't just appearing out of nowhere. It's being built piece by piece, and often it's sold to us as progress, right? Digital IDs for our security, tokenized assets to make things more efficient, AI to make our lives easier, and financial surveillance to keep us all safe. Okay, this quote right here, it really nails what the endgame could look like. The articles bring up things like BlackRock's plan to tokenize all assets. Now imagine combining that with digital IDs. The sources suggest this could create what they call a radiant digital cage. I mean, what a phrase, where your access to your own life, your own money, becomes conditional. In this idea of, a sort of engineered reality, it doesn't stop there. It goes right into our economy. The sources point to the AI industry as a perfect example of this. They call it a trillion-dollar illusion that's built on something called round-tripping. Basically, you have these huge corporations just passing money back and forth to each other in a closed loop. It creates the illusion of massive growth and investment, monetizing the story of AI before the reality is even there. So, from the Lightnet perspective, big global crises aren't always just random, unfortunate events. The idea is that they're often used as an excuse to push for more centralization. For example, they point to the World Economic Forum warning about a cyber pandemic, a warning that got a lot of attention after major hacks on big infrastructure companies. According to this source, these things become the perfect reason to roll out a pre-planned solution. But hey, that's only one of the two futures we're talking about, right? The articles also lay out a completely different path, one they call a collective awakening of consciousness. In this path, it's not about throwing away our phones and going to live in the woods. It's about taking back our power, both as individuals and as a collective, from these big centralized systems. It's about shifting from just being a passive consumer of reality to being an active co-creator of it. Yeah, so the really crucial idea here is that shift, from being a passive dependent to a conscious participant. When they talk about sovereignty in this context, it's not just about politics, it's deeper. It's about reclaiming your own inner authority, your ability to think for yourself, to create, and to protect your own well-being from the inside out. And this awakening isn't just one single thing. It's described as happening all over the place. You see it in these grassroots health movements that are pushing for medical freedom outside of corporate control. You see it in investors who are waking up and learning to see through all the manipulation in the markets. And you see it in everyday people who are just consciously choosing to pull their energy and their consent out of systems they just don't trust anymore. There's this theme that keeps popping up that real life, real vitality for a person and for a society, it comes from contributing, from connecting. It's not about just trying to survive at all costs. They use this great analogy of water. When it stops flowing, it stagnates, and the argument is that life itself is like that. It starts to diminish when it's not in circulation, when it's not serving something bigger than just itself.
So here's where it gets really interesting. According to Lightnet, this isn't some far off future scenario. These two paths, control versus awakening, are apparently coming to a head right now. We're at the turning point.
And how do we know it's a turning point? Well, the articles propose that we're actually getting signals from celestial events. They're seen as these cosmic catalysts that are kind of forcing this choice between control and awakening. Okay, so get this. They point to a specific object named 3I/Atlas, and they're not describing it as just a comet. No, according to the source, it's a multi-dimensional probe that was sent here to help humanity evolve by shaking up the old patterns of control. Yeah, this slide really dives into the more, let's say, esoteric side of this worldview. The idea is that humanity is getting some kind of outside help to break free from what the articles call ancient systems of suppression. They actually claim these systems are anchored by the moon and an unnatural tilt of the Earth's axis, and this probe is here to help correct that. So, in the end, the whole perspective from Lightnet really leaves us with this one big, provocative question. It suggests that choice isn't just happening out there in the world, but it's deeply personal, happening inside each of us. And maybe the future won't be decided by the technology itself, but by the consciousness we choose to bring to it.
You've been listening to the Weaving the Lightnet TLDR. To explore more about any of these topics, visit lightnet.co.uk or listen to the full deep dive podcast episode linked below. Give the video a like, share this episode with others who would appreciate it, and subscribe to join us next week as we continue weaving the web of planetary consciousness together. Stay sovereign.